You can't last a minute against me, human. The alien warrior princess had no clue who she was. Tier after tier of stone and metal seats rose into the sky, packed with warriors, nobles, scholars, and soldiers from dozens of star systems. Banners floated in the air, glowing with symbols of conquest and honor. The floor of the arena was smooth and dark, forged from a material strong enough to survive the impact of giants. Above it all, a transparent energy dome shimmered, sealing the space and keeping the air stable for every species present. At the center stood the reason everyone had gathered. Princess Verx of the Zanari Dominion walked forward with confident steps. She was tall even by her people's standards, her posture straight, her movements sharp and powerful. Light armor covered her body, etched with marks that told stories of battles won and rivals broken. Her people were born fighters, shaped by heavy gravity in a harsh world, and Verx was the finest among them. She raised one clawed hand, and the noise of the crowd slowly faded. Today, she said, her voice carrying easily through the arena, we welcome a new species into the wider galaxy, humanity. A large image appeared above the arena, showing humans walking through their cities, piloting ships, working in labs, soft-skinned, smaller. Fragile-looking, some in the crowd laughed. Princess Verx's lips curved into a confident smile. You call yourselves survivors, explorers, builders, but let us speak honestly. She turned, pointing at the image. Your kind is weak. You rely on tools because your bodies failed you. You rely on machines because you could not adapt. The laughter grew louder. At one side of the arena, a small group of humans stood together. Diplomats, scientists, observers. They wore simple uniforms, neutral in color. They said nothing, but several shifted uncomfortably. Verx continued, her voice sharp. The Zainari Dominion respects strength, and before we grant respect, we test it. She spread her arms wide. I challenge humanity to a simple demonstration. 1 minute of combat, no weapons. No armor against me. The crowd erupted. Some shouted in excitement. Others watched the humans closely, curious to see what they would do. Verx tilted her head slightly. Surely one of you will step forward. Or is fear the strongest trait your species possesses? The human delegation exchanged glances. This was not part of any agreement. Their leaders had come for peace, trade, and shared knowledge, not humiliation. Before anyone could speak, a quiet movement came from the back of the group. A woman stepped forward. She was not tall, not muscular. She wore a plain, dark uniform with no markings of rank. Her hair was tied back simply. Her face held no anger, no pride, no fear, just calm. Whispers spread through the arena. That one? Someone scoffed. Verx looked at her and laughed softly. You, she asked. Are you a warrior? The human woman shook her head. No. Enhanced? Verx asked, eyes narrowing. No. A leader, a champion, the princess pressed. No, the woman said again. Verx's smile widened. Then this will be quick. The human ambassador opened his mouth to object, but the woman raised a hand slightly. He stopped. She walked onto the arena floor alone. As the energy field sealed behind her, the weight of thousands of eyes pressed down. The princess stepped closer, circling her slowly, examining her like prey. You won't last a minute against me, human, Verx said confidently. But do not worry, I will not break you beyond repair. The woman met her gaze. Her eyes were steady. Do what you think is right. Something about that answer made Verx pause, just for a heartbeat. The arena announcer's voice echoed. Combat demonstration will begin in 10 seconds. Verx rolled her shoulders, muscles shifting under her armor. She had ended fights in seconds before. This would be no different. The human stood still. She did not stretch, did not raise her hands. She simply breathed. 9, 8. Verx studied her stance. It was relaxed, almost careless. No guard, no visible preparation. 7. The princess felt a strange irritation. This human was not showing fear, not even respect. 6. In the stands, some spectators leaned forward. Others turned away, already bored. 5. The human's gaze never left Verx. 4. Verx crouched slightly, ready to strike. 3. The air seemed heavier. 2. The human shifted her weight by a fraction, so small most would not notice. 1. The signal sounded. Verx exploded into motion. She crossed the distance in a blink, her speed drawing gasps from the crowd. Her fist drove forward, aimed to end the match instantly. The human moved. Not fast, not slow, just enough. Verx's strike cut through empty air. The princess spun, surprised, and launched a kick powerful enough to shatter stone. Again, the human was no longer there. She had stepped aside, her movement smooth and precise. The crowd went quiet. Verx attacked again, faster this time. Punch, elbow, knee. Each blow carried enough force to crush bone. None landed. The human never ran, never panicked. She stayed close, always just out of reach, guiding the fight without striking back. 10 seconds passed. Verx's irritation turned to anger. "Stop dodging," she snarled and swung harder. The human slipped past her, the rush of displaced air brushing Verx's armor. 20 seconds. Murmurs spread through the arena. She should be down by now. How is she still standing? The princess's breathing grew heavier, not from exhaustion, but from disbelief. She attacked with a combination she had perfected through years of battle, a pattern that had defeated champions from other worlds. The human watched it come, then stepped inside the attack. Verx felt a sudden shift in balance. Her own momentum turned against her, her strike redirected just enough to throw her off-center. She stumbled one step forward before catching herself. The crowd gasped. Verx turned slowly, staring at the human. The woman stood calmly, hands still lowered. 30 seconds. Half the time remained. For the first time in her life, Princess Verx felt uncertainty. She had trained to dominate, to overpower, to break resistance through strength. This human was doing none of those things. She was surviving. Verx straightened, eyes narrowing. "What are you?" she demanded. The human answered quietly, her voice steady even under the weight of the arena. "Human." The princess attacked again, but now something had changed. The crowd leaned forward, sensing that this was no longer a simple demonstration. And far beyond the arena, unseen observers began to realize that they were witnessing the opening moment of something far greater than a single fight. The silence in the arena did not last long. Princess Verx moved again, faster than before. Her attacks were no longer measured or proud. They were sharp, driven by wounded confidence. She struck with both arms, then spun low, aiming to sweep the human off her feet. The movement was flawless, perfected over years of battle against trained warriors. The human reacted instantly. She shifted her stance, letting the sweep pass beneath her, and stepped backward with calm control. Her boots touched the arena floor lightly, as if gravity itself treated her differently. Verx followed without pause. She pressed forward, refusing to give space. Punch after punch came like a storm, each blow strong enough to end the match if it landed cleanly. But they did not. The human bent, leaned, stepped, turned. Every movement was small, efficient, and exact. She wasted no energy. She never looked rushed. It was as if she had already seen each attack before it happened. The crowd was no longer laughing. Many had risen from their seats, eyes fixed on the arena floor. The earlier noise had faded into tense murmurs. "How is this possible?" someone whispered. "Is she using hidden technology?" Sensors throughout the arena showed nothing. No enhancements, no energy fields. Just flesh, bone, and train movement. Verx growled low in her throat. She lunged again, this time aiming not to strike but to overpower. She wrapped her arms around the human, pulling her close with crushing strength. Gasps echoed through the stands. This was it. No human body should survive this hold. But the human did not panic. She exhaled slowly and shifted her hips, placing one foot carefully behind Verx's leg. Her arms moved, not to fight the grip directly, but to change its angle. The princess felt her balance tilt. Before she could adjust, the human twisted and dropped her weight. Verx staggered, forced to release her hold to avoid falling. She stepped back hard, claws scraping the arena floor. The human stood upright again, breathing steady. 40 seconds had passed. Verx stared at her opponent, chest rising faster now. Her eyes searched for answers that were not there. "You should be broken," she said harshly. "Your bones should have failed." The human said nothing. Instead, she took a single step forward. The crowd stiffened. This was the first time the human had advanced on her own. Verx snarled and attacked again, unleashing raw strength without restraint. Her movements were less controlled now, more aggressive, fueled by pride and anger. The human finally responded. She raised one arm, not to strike but to block. Verx's fist collided with it, the impact echoing across the arena. The human slid back half a step, boots grinding against the floor. The crowd gasped. She had stopped the blow, not completely, not easily, but enough. Verx froze for a fraction of a second, shocked by the resistance. That moment was all the human needed. She moved in close, placing her hand against Verx's armored shoulder. With a sharp turn and a controlled push, she redirected the princess's momentum again. Verx stumbled. Not a fall, not defeat, but undeniable loss of control. The arena erupted into noise. "This is impossible. She's controlling the fight." Verx regained her footing, rage flashing across her face. "You mock me," she hissed. The human finally spoke again, her voice calm, almost gentle. "No, I am listening." That answer confused Verx more than any strike. Listening. The princess attacked again, but now her movements were being watched closely. Analysts in distant observation rooms began recording every frame, slowing down the footage. They saw it then. The human was not faster, she was earlier. She moved before attacks fully formed. She read tension, breath, weight shift. She predicted intent. This was not strength. This was survival. 50 seconds. Verx felt it now. A strange pressure in her chest. Not pain, not fatigue, doubt. She had been raised to believe her species stood at the top because they were born stronger, because their world demanded it. But this human had learned to live in a world that did not forgive mistakes. Verx charged again, roaring, putting everything into one final push. If she could end this now, the moment would be forgotten. The human braced. The collision came hard. Verx drove her backward step by step toward the edge of the arena. The princess was stronger, heavier. Her muscles burned with effort, but she forced the human back. The crowd shouted, some cheering, some shouting warnings. The human reached the boundary line. For the first time, her expression changed. Not fear. Focus. She shifted her foot placement, turned her body sideways, and let Verx's force slide past instead of resisting it. With one smooth motion, she guided the princess forward and stepped aside. Verx stumbled again, barely stopping herself from crossing the boundary. The timer ticked. 55 seconds. The princess turned, breathing hard now. Sweat darkened the edge of her armor. Her eyes burned, not with anger anymore, but with something close to disbelief. "What kind of training creates this?" she demanded. The human met her gaze. "Life." The word echoed louder than any cheer. 58 seconds. Verx raised her fists again, but slower now. She hesitated. The crowd watched in silence. 59. The signal sounded. The match ended. The arena remained still for a long moment, as if no one trusted what they had just seen. Princess Verx stood breathing heavily, still on her feet, but changed. Her posture was no longer proud and relaxed. It was guarded. The human lowered her hands fully and stepped back, giving space. No victory pose, no words of triumph, just quiet respect. The announcer's voice finally returned, uncertain. "The 1-minute demonstration has concluded." The crowd erupted, this time not in laughter but in stunned, confused noise. Verx stared at the human for a long second, then slowly lowered her arms. She had not been defeated, but she had not won. And for the first time in her life, Princess Verx understood something dangerous. She had challenged a species without knowing who they truly were. And this human had shown her only the beginning. The noise of the crowd slowly settled, but the tension in the arena did not fade. Princess Verk stood still, her chest rising and falling. Her muscles were warm, her breath heavy, yet her mind felt unsettled. She had faced countless opponents, some stronger, some faster, but never like this. Never someone who refused to dominate, refused to show off, and still controlled the fight. The human woman waited quietly a short distance away. The energy barrier remained active. The demonstration was over, but the moment was not finished. Verk straightened her posture, forcing herself back into the stance of a warrior princess. She would not allow confusion to show. "The minute has ended," she said, her voice loud enough for the arena to hear. "You survived." Some in the crowd reacted to the word, survived. Not one. The human inclined her head slightly. Yes. That simple answer stirred something uneasy in Verks. Survival was a word her people used for the weak, for those who barely escaped defeat. Victory was what mattered to the Zainari. Survival was what happened when victory failed. And yet, the human spoke it without shame. Verks took a step closer. "You did not strike when you could have. Why?" The human looked around the arena for a moment, taking in the faces of so many species watching her. Then she returned her gaze to Verks. "That was not the purpose." Murmurs spread again. "What purpose?" Verks asked sharply. "To show you," the human replied, "that humans are not what you think." Verks felt irritation rise again, but it was weaker now, mixed with curiosity. "You claim this fight represents your entire species." "No," the human said calmly. "It represents our way of thinking." That answer puzzled many listening. Across the arena, analysts replayed the footage again and again. They slowed it down, traced movement paths, measured force and reaction times. The results caused silent alarm. The human had absorbed and redirected energy far beyond what her physical frame suggested. She had used balance, timing, and structure with unnatural efficiency. "This is not luck," one analyst whispered. "This is doctrine." Verks gestured, and the announcer hesitated before speaking again. "The demonstration may continue as dialogue," he said carefully. The energy barrier remained. Verks circled the human once more, slower this time, studying her with new eyes. "You carry no rank markings, no visible enhancements, and yet you stood against me." "Yes," the human said. "Then who trained you?" Verks demanded. The human was silent for a moment. When she spoke, her voice was still even, but there was weight behind it. "Many people, some alive, some not." The crowd quieted. Verks stopped in front of her. "Explain." The human looked up at the towering stands. "Humans grow up knowing the world can turn against them at any time. Weather, disease, accidents, conflict. We learn early that strength alone is not enough." Verks frowned. Her world was harsh, but it was predictable. Gravity was heavy, the environment brutal. But it was constant. One adapted or died. "On Earth," the human continued, "conditions change without warning. Survival requires learning, not just enduring." The word Earth passed through the translators, echoed softly through the arena. Verks folded her arms. "So you train to avoid direct conflict?" "No," the human said. "We train to end it." That answer struck harder than any blow. Verks felt a chill crawl beneath her armor. Ending conflict did not mean avoiding it. It meant controlling it. "You could have hurt me," Verks said slowly. "Yes. Why didn't you?" "Because this was not war." The simplicity of the statement left no room for argument. Verks turned away, looking out at the crowd. She saw faces that had come expecting entertainment. Mockery. Easy proof of superiority. Now they watched with unease. She clenched one fist. Pride burned inside her, but it no longer blinded her. "You came here peacefully," Verks said, "and yet you sent someone capable of this." The human nodded. "Peace does not mean helpless." That sentence spread through the arena like a wave. Among the human delegation, quiet relief mixed with concern. This was more exposure than planned, more truth than intended. Verks turned back. "What are you to your people?" The human hesitated. "A safeguard." The word translated imperfectly, but the meaning was clear enough. Verks studied her again. "You are not unique, are you?" The human did not answer directly. Humans prepare for the worst even when we hope for the best. That was answer enough. A low murmur spread across the stands. The realization dawned slowly and then all at once. If this human was not their strongest, then what was humanity hiding? Verx felt her heartbeat steady. The anger was gone now. In its place was respect, unwanted but undeniable. She lowered her head slightly, a gesture rarely given. You have shown restraint, that is strength of a different kind. The human inclined her head in return, and you honored the challenge. The princess exhaled slowly. My people believed strength was something you are born with. You have shown me it can also be built. The human said nothing, allowing the moment to stand. From the upper tiers, a Zainari elder rose. Princess, he called, this demonstration has already exceeded its purpose. Verx nodded without looking away from the human. Yes, she said, it has. She raised her voice so all could hear. Let it be recorded that humanity does not rely on weakness disguised as technology. They rely on discipline shaped by survival. The words echoed through the arena, carrying far beyond its walls. The human stepped back, signaling that she was finished. The energy barrier flickered, then dissolved. As she turned to return to her delegation, Verx spoke once more. Human, she paused. If this had been war, Verx asked quietly, would the outcome be different? The human looked back over her shoulder. Her expression was calm, but her eyes carried something deeper. Yes, she said, for everyone. She walked away. Verx remained standing in the center of the arena, surrounded by noise she barely heard. Her world had shifted, not by force, but by understanding. She had challenged a human thinking she was testing flesh and bone. Instead, she had been tested herself. And she knew now, with unsettling clarity, that the galaxy had only seen a fraction of what humanity truly was. The arena slowly emptied, but the weight of what had happened did not leave with the crowd. Princess Verx remained standing long after the human delegation had withdrawn. Servants and guards waited at a respectful distance, unsure whether to approach. This silence was unusual for a place meant to celebrate victory. The air still felt charged, as if the fight had not truly ended. Verx finally turned and walked toward the exit tunnel. Her steps were slower than before, her thoughts heavy. Every movement she made reminded her of the human's control, the calm precision that had matched her strength without trying to surpass it. Behind her, unseen by most, observers from other empires exchanged quiet messages. Data packets moved across secure channels. What they had witnessed was not just a demonstration. It was a warning. In a private chamber overlooking the arena, the human woman stood alone near a wide window. The stars beyond were distant and cold, yet familiar. She rested her hands lightly on the railing, listening to the faint hum of the station. The human ambassador entered quietly. You went further than planned, he said, not in anger but concern. She nodded. They needed to see it. They will react to it, he replied. Yes, she said calmly, that was also needed. The ambassador studied her for a moment. If they ask who you are, they won't, she said. They already know enough. Back in the Zainari royal complex, Princess Verx entered the council chamber. Elders and generals waited for her. Their faces showed controlled expressions, but their eyes were sharp with questions. You embarrassed the Dominion, one general said bluntly. Verx did not react. She took her seat and rested her hands on the stone table. No, she said. I educated it, a low murmur spread. They survived you, an elder said carefully. That alone changes nothing. Verx lifted her gaze. They did not survive me, she replied. They measured me. Silence followed. She leaned forward. That human could have broken my balance completely. She chose not to. That means she was in control. The generals exchanged uneasy glances. Our strength is biological, Verx continued. Theirs is learned. That makes it harder to predict. One elder frowned. Are you suggesting we treat them as equals? Verx paused. The word equal had never sat comfortably in Zainari doctrine. I am suggesting, she said slowly, that underestimating them would be dangerous. Elsewhere on the station, the human woman moved through quiet corridors. No one stopped her. No one questioned her presence. She was already being treated differently. She reached a secured door and placed her hand against the scanner. It opened with a soft tone. Inside, several figures waited. Humans, all of them, different ages, different expressions. Each carried a calm awareness similar to her own. They noticed, one said. Yes, she replied. How much did you show? Another asked. Enough. They exchanged looks. Then phase one is complete, the first said. The woman nodded. Now we watch. On the Zainari homeworld, recordings of the demonstration spread quickly. Citizens watched in disbelief as their warrior princess failed to dominate a human. Some reacted with anger, others with confusion, a few with fear. Children replayed the moment where Verk stumbled. Scholars slowed footage frame by frame. Trainers argued late into the night. One truth became impossible to ignore. The human did not fight like a challenger. She fought like a problem solver. Princess Verk stood alone in a training hall later that cycle. The space was empty except for her and a combat drone set to maximum difficulty. She activated it and stepped forward. The drone attacked instantly. Verks countered, but her movements were different now. She paid more attention to balance, to timing, to wasted motion. She lost. The realization struck her harder than the defeat itself. The human's methods were already changing her. Days passed. Talks between the Dominion and humanity resumed. The tone was different, less mocking, more cautious. During one session, a Zainari diplomat asked, "How many of your kind are trained like her?" The human ambassador smiled slightly. "Enough." That answer was recorded and circulated widely. Princess Verks requested another meeting, this time without an audience. The human woman entered the private chamber alone. No guards, no armor, just quiet confidence. Verk stood waiting. "You altered the balance," she said plainly. "Yes," the human replied. "Was that your mission?" "It was one of them." Verk studied her carefully. "You fight like someone who expects to lose." The human shook her head. "I fight like someone who expects to adapt." Verks let out a slow breath. "Teach me." The request surprised even herself. The human considered it. "Why?" "Because," Verks said, "if my people are to survive what is coming, strength alone will not be enough." The human nodded once. "Then you are already learning." They stood in silence, two warriors from different worlds, connected not by power but by understanding. Far beyond their meeting, ships changed course. Strategies were rewritten. Old assumptions were discarded. The galaxy had believed humanity was soft because they did not boast. Now it was learning the truth. Humans did not need to dominate to win. They only needed time. And time, as the stars would soon learn, was always on their side. The station slowly returned to its normal rhythm, but nothing felt the same anymore. Ships came and went. Delegations moved through halls with careful steps. Conversations lowered when humans passed by. The galaxy had not changed its laws or borders, but something deeper had shifted. Assumptions that had lasted for centuries were no longer safe. Princess Verk stood at the edge of the observation platform, looking out at the stars. The lights of distant systems blinked like silent witnesses. She had fought many battles in her life, but this was the first time a battle had continued long after it ended. Behind her, soft footsteps approached. The human woman stopped a few steps away. "You asked to see me." Verks nodded but did not turn. "My council believes this moment will fade," she said, "that the galaxy will forget." "It won't," the human replied calmly. Verks finally faced her. "You are certain?" "Yes." The princess studied her face, still calm, still unreadable. "Why?" "Because fear does not come from loss," the human said. "It comes from uncertainty." Verks looked back to the stars. "You gave them uncertainty." "Yes." They stood together in silence for a moment. "Will your people expand?" Verks asked. "Conquer?" No, the human answered. We don't need to. That answer unsettled Verks more than any threat. Then what do you want? Space, the human said. Time, and the freedom to exist without being tested for weakness. Verks considered that. For the first time, she saw how exhausting constant dominance must be, always proving, always challenging. The princess straightened. Then the Zanari Dominion will recognize humanity as a sovereign equal. The words carried weight. They were not spoken lightly. The human inclined her head. That will be remembered. Soon after, the formal announcement spread across known space. It was brief and carefully worded, but its meaning was clear. Humanity was no longer an unknown variable. Reactions were immediate. Some empires responded with caution, pulling back their fleets. Others rushed to open talks, eager to learn more. A few hardened their defenses, unwilling to accept that a quiet species could hold such power. On Earth, the message arrived during an ordinary day. People watched the broadcast in homes, workplaces, and crowded streets. They saw the replay of the arena, the calm movement, the moment of balance shifting, the silence after the timer ended. There was no cheering, no shouting, just understanding. Human leaders addressed the world soon after. They spoke of patience, of restraint, of responsibility. They reminded everyone that strength was not permission for cruelty. Most listened. Some worried. The human woman returned to Earth without ceremony. No medals, no parades. She walked through familiar streets, blending into the crowd. People passed her without knowing who she was. She preferred it that way. In a quiet training facility far from the public eye, she met with others like her. Not warriors in armor, not heroes. Just people shaped by discipline and experience. They're watching us now, one said. They always were, she replied. But now they understand something, another added. Yes, she said, that we don't show everything. Back among the stars, Princess Verks began to change her people. Training halls were redesigned. Young warriors were taught to think before they struck, to read movement, to conserve energy. Strength was still honored but no longer worshipped alone. At first there was resistance. This is weakness, some said. Verks answered them personally. This is survival. Slowly the culture shifted. Years passed. Human ships became more common, not warships but explorers, builders, listeners. They moved carefully, never rushing, always learning. Other species began to notice patterns. Humans avoided unnecessary conflict, but when challenged, they did not retreat. They adapted. A border incident tested this truth. A powerful empire attempted to push into a neutral zone where human colonies existed. They expected delay, debate, fear. They were met with calm resistance. Human ships repositioned with quiet precision. Supply lines shifted. Communication networks adjusted. Every move anticipated. The conflict ended before it truly began. No battle was fought. The invading fleet withdrew, confused and unsettled. Observers later admitted they had never seen strategy applied so smoothly. Princess Verks watched the reports with thoughtful eyes. They didn't fight, a general said. They didn't need to, Verks replied. She remembered the human's words. End conflict, control it. One cycle, long after the arena demonstration had become legend, Princess Verks visited Earth, not as a challenger, as a guest. She walked beneath open skies, feeling lighter gravity pull at her frame. She watched humans move through their cities, fragile and unarmored, yet unafraid. This world shaped you, she said to her guide. Yes, the guide replied, and we shaped it back. Verks finally understood. Humanity was not strong because they had conquered their world. They were strong because their world had never stopped challenging them. Before leaving, Verks requested one final meeting. The human woman stood across from her once more, just as she had in the arena long ago. You changed the galaxy, Verks said. The human shook her head. No, we revealed ourselves. Verks placed one hand over her chest, a gesture of deep respect among her people. If history remembers one moment, she said, it will remember that minute. The human smiled faintly. Minutes matter. As Verx departed Earth, she looked back at the blue world fading into the distance. She felt no fear, only respect. Across the stars, stories spread. About the warrior princess who learned humility. About the human who never raised her voice. About a species that did not boast, did not threaten, and did not rush. A species that survived. And the galaxy learned a final, lasting truth. Never measure humans by how loudly they speak. Measure them by how quietly they endure. Because when humans finally stand their ground, they do not need more than a minute. They need only understanding. And by the time that understanding arrives, it is already too late to underestimate them.